Okay, map time. Map of Lower Manhattan, please. This is about 60 blocks south of where I sit right now. Over on the left side of the screen, you can see the World Trade Center site. 20 years ago, last week, this is what it looked like at that site. This is the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. A truck bomb detonated in the parking garage beneath the North Tower of the World Trade Center, killing 6 people and injuring more than 1,000 others. Almost 2 years to the day after that bombing, U.S. officials tracked down the mastermind of that attack, a man named Ramzi Youssef. Authorities captured him in Islamabad in Pakistan. They extradited him to the United States to face trial. The place where Ramzi Youssef was tried is about 10 blocks from where he committed the crime for which he was arrested. He was tried at the U.S. District Courthouse in Lower Manhattan, it's right there. It's right in the shadow of the World Trade Center. Ramzi Youssef was convicted in that courthouse. He was sentenced to life in prison without the chance of parole, and he is now known as inmate number 03911 at the federal Supermax prison in Florence, Colorado. While that prosecution of Ramzi Youssef was underway, that same courthouse in Lower Manhattan was the scene of another federal prosecution. An Egyptian-born cleric known as the Blind Sheik was being brought up on terrorism charges related to his plans to blow up a whole slew of New York City landmarks. Like Ramzi Youssef, the Blind Sheik was convicted by federal prosecutors. He was sentenced to life in prison without the chance of parole, and now he goes by the name of inmate number 34892-054 at the federal Supermax prison in Butner, North Carolina. That courthouse in Lower Manhattan is sort of prolific in terms of prosecuting terrorism. The cases that end up there are serious cases, and the prosecutors are good at getting convictions. Basically, in that courthouse, international terror suspect goes in, life sentence comes out. And this morning, that courthouse was abuzz with activity again. This is one of Osama bin Laden's sons-in-law. This guy was sort of a mainstay in al-Qaeda propaganda videos for years after 9/11. He was a spokesman for al-Qaeda. He was said to have been personally close with bin Laden. In January, he was captured in Turkey. He was eventually handed over to Jordan, and then Jordan handed him over to American authorities. And because we as a country have a long history of dealing with terrorism suspects, guess where his next stop was shortly after he got off the plane from the Middle East? If you guessed that U.S. District Courthouse in Lower Manhattan, you would be correct. Just blocks away from the World Trade Center site. And that courthouse has been sending international terrorism suspects away for going on 3 decades now. Osama bin Laden's son-in-law appeared at that federal courthouse this morning. He was officially charged with conspiracy to kill Americans. It is a crime that carries a potential life sentence. That development, the capture and appearance in federal court of a high-ranking al-Qaeda figure, that was greeted today with delight? Congratulations? No, it was greeted with outrage today by Republican members of the United States Congress. One after the other came forward to denounce the Obama administration for having the audacity to mount this terrorism prosecution in federal court, which we have done successfully now for decades. John Cornyn, Kelly Ayotte, Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, John McCain, they all came out and said this is an outrage. They said the right decision would have been to ship this guy, of course, to Guantanamo. Their argument is that Guantanamo is so much better. They say that now that he's in federal custody, of course, he will not talk. He'll clam up. The Obama administration blew it. I should also mention now that along with charging the suspect in federal court today, prosecutors also submitted as evidence 22 pages of statements that bin Laden's son-in-law has made to federal law enforcement officials since he was arrested. But still, everybody freak out. Double Guantanamo. Maybe that'll help you get reelected if you ever have to go back in a time machine to run for office again in 2004.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. We do not give up. Expect surprises. Subscribe.